All right, so I just wanted to share some stuff I've been working on. I've been painstakingly going through PFF's coverage matchups and I went through kind of the playoff games, some of the bigger ranked games to try to identify some of the best cornerbacks based on who they matched up with the receiver. So just going down the list, Ashton Gianti got a 71.9. Usually when you see the same number, that means maybe there was a zone coverage and all these guys got the same grade. At least that's what I think, because a lot of the defenders have the same grade, or I should say the wide receiver has the same grade against these defenders. So Barry and Brown gave these guys 77.4. Barry and Brown is out of Kentucky. So Cam Scadaboo had a really good receiving grade versus these three guys, Bo Goodwin, Will McLaughlin, Tywin Berryhill. Cardinal Tate at Ohio State, he didn't have a good offensive grade versus Nico Reed and Jabbar Muhammad. CJ Dupree had a 73.5 versus Langston Patterson. DeAndre Moore. Cody Simon looks like he's a pretty good player. He gave a lot of people bad offensive grades. But you can see DeAndre Moore had a pretty good offensive grade versus these guys, except for Cody Simon. And keep in mind, these are just offensive grades. These have nothing to do with what they can do in the run game. How they tackle is simply just coverage. So Devin Neal gave a lot of guys pretty bad defensive grades. He gave Cameron Silman Craig, or he got an 84 versus Cameron Silman Craig out of Colorado. Yam Bakes has pretty good stats. He gave Dominic Lovett a 65.2. Eli Stowers, he's a tight end out of Vanderbilt. I don't think he's draft eligible, but he looks like he could be an up-and-coming stud tight end. He gave Devonta Smith, Jod Campbell, Malaki Moore all bad defensive grades. Emeka Buka did not get a great offensive grade versus Andrew Mukuba. Jade Barron out of Texas. Eric McAllister out of TCU. He got a pretty good offensive grade versus Kobe Bryant, Melo Dotson out of Kansas. Major Burns, LSU. He seems like he gave a lot of guys bad offensive grades. Jack Besh gave Melo Dotson, the rest of those guys, bad defensive grades. Jaden Higgins had a decent offensive grade versus Kobe Bryant and Melo Dotson. Jalen Noel gave Kobe Bryant, Melo Dotson bad offensive grades. Jeremiah Smith, obviously a pretty good player. Kyron Lacey had decent offensive grades versus these guys. Devonta Smith, Trey Amos, Jihad Campbell, Bo Freiler. Ajonte Wessler did not do well versus Kobe Bryant. Quint Allen had pretty decent offensive grades. Quentin Skinner had pretty good offensive grades versus these guys, but versus these guys, he had a bad offensive grade. He's out of Kansas. He had a pretty good, decent grade against Bo Freiler at Iowa State. Keyshawn Judkins had a pretty good offensive grade. Ryan Williams has pretty good offensive grade, except for versus Marcus Clark, Marvin Burks, Nicholas Deloche. Silas Bolden had a really good offensive grade versus Shmuel Munden. Tez Johnson is kind of mixed bag there. Caleb Downs, Cody Simon, I think that's Ohio State, kind of shut him down. Trayshawn Holden, however, had pretty good offensive grades versus Ohio State, but other teams he didn't. Looks like it was Kansas. Trey Harris's offensive grade, somewhat decent. Trevor Cardell, Xavier Thomas had a good grade against Jihad Campbell. So let's sort it by defender. Don Schuler has pretty decent grades across the board. Anthony Hill Jr. is kind of average, except for versus Trevor Etienne. Bo Freiler has pretty decent grades, except for against Quentin Skinner, 6'5" out of Kansas. Bray Hubbard, grades look pretty decent. Caleb Downs' grades are decently good across the board, except for against Quintravion Wisner and Trayshawn Holden. Cam Miller looks like he's kind of mixed bag. Cameron Silman Craig had one good grade, but bad grade versus Devin Neal. Chris Paul Jr. looks like he has decent grades. Christian Gray has pretty decent grades. Gets some tough opponents. Probably the lowest grade I've seen for Jeremiah Smith. Tyler Warren has 75. Kobe Bryant has some really good grades, but then also has some really not so good grades. Jalen Noel given bad grade. Jaden Higgins, Eric McAllister. Cody Simon has decent grades, especially Deontay Lawson. Grades are okay. He had a really bad grade against Eli Stowers, tight end out of Vandy. Jay Barron's scores are average versus Ohio State. Jalen Jones gave Miami average grades. Jalen Reed has pretty decent grades, except for versus Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson got an 84. Jordan Hancock has pretty good grades. Keon Sabb has has average grades, except for versus Oscar Delp. He gave him a 33.9, which is really good. Major Burns has pretty good coverage grades. Lucky Starks has some good grades and some bad. Got a real bad grade versus DeAndre Moore. Ryan Williams had a really good grade versus Gunnar Helm. See, Malaki Moore had a really bad grade versus Eli Stowers. Malik Muhammad has some good grades, some are average. One bad grade versus Keyshawn Judkins. Marcus Clark has decent grades versus Ryan Williams. Marvin Grant got bad grades from Jack Besh. Jalen Knoll has a pretty decent. Melo Dotson has pretty good grades, except for Eric McAllister, Jack Besh, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll. Nicholas Deloche gave Ryan Williams a bad grade. Nick Emanawari got a bad grade from Jacob Jordan. Shmuel Munden got a bad grade from DeAndre Moore and Silas Bolden. Sonny Styles, some good grades, some bad grades, or average grades. Trey Amos got a somewhat bad grade from Kyron Lacey. Cam Scattaboo gave Will McLaughlin a really bad grade. Xavier Brown has pretty good grades. Worst one coming from Kyron Lacey. All right, going to receiving grades. I have Harold Fannin at the top, Tyler Warren, Nick Nash, Teta McMillan, Ty Felton, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, Trevor Pena, Trey Harris, Jonte Wester, Emeka Ibuka, Jack Besh, John Newton, Tez Johnson, Ricky White, Tanner Koziel. Start adding their height and weight. Go by weight. Malachi Matavio is 7'7", 263. Penn State. Tyler Warren is 7'7", 260 or 6'7". Terrence Ferguson, Mason Taylor, Gunnar Helm. Go by points per game. Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, only played 8 games. Then Jalen Royals out of Utah State. David Amador, UTSA. Xavier Restrepo, Pat Bryant, Illinois. Go by avoided tackles. Their Borden has second most of Errol Fannin. Jamar Pritchett, Nick Nash, Josh Kelly, Ty Felton. Go by contested receptions. Tanner Koziel has 26. Jackson Meeks has 21. Ian Strong has 20. Trevor Pena has 18. Rondé Gatson has 17. Elijah Surratt has 16. Higgins 14. Justin Jolly 11. Elijah Badger 11. Golden 11. Go by first downs. Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State has 51. Andrew Armstrong out of Arkansas has 51. Jackson Meeks, Syracuse. Corey Rucker, Arkansas State. Sorted by receptions. Harold Fannin is 117. Nick Nash, Tyler Warren all have 100. Josh Kelly out of Texas Tech. Junior Van Der Roos the third out of Toledo. Giles Jackson, Washington, all are up there. Targeted QB rating. Jordan Watkins out of Ole Miss. Perfect QB rating, 906 yards. Miles Kitselton out of Tennessee has 152.7. Katie Hutchinson, Western Kentucky. RJ Maryland, tight end, SMU. Trayshawn Holden, Oregon. Trey Harris. Cash Jones out of Georgia, halfback. Isaac Tesla. Blake Bosma, Magdalena, Fresno State. Jeremiah Franklin, Deontay Thornton. So if you're looking at true X receivers, go by their wide rate, or just go by their wide snaps. Got Will Shepard, Colorado. Justin Lockhart, San Jose State. Caden Prather, Maryland. Jackson Meeks, Syracuse. Eric A. Manar, Stanford. Matthew Golden, Texas. Kyron Lacey, LSU. Ty Felton, Maryland. Let's see this sort by yards. Jaden Higgins is up there. Jalen Knoll. John Newton. Ricky White. Trey Harris. Jackson Meeks. Ja'Cory Brooks. Mika Buka. YPRR. Trey Harris has 5.12. Casey Reynolds has at Army has 5.08. Katie Hutchinson, West Kentucky. Ellie Heidenreich, fullback Navy. Eric Rivers, FIU. David Amador, UTSA. Torrey Horton are all in the threes. If we just look at halfbacks, Desmond Reed, Pittsburgh. Cam Scattaboo, Quint Allen, Marion Hampton. Dean Connors has 61 receptions. Quint Allen has 64. If you go by route rate, let's go by QB rating. See yards. Desmond Reed, Pittsburgh has a lot. Cam Scattaboo has third most. LaQuint Allen, fourth most. Marion Hampton is sixth most. Eighth most yards per reception. Cam Scattaboo has second most. DJ Giddens, 11.9. Caleb Johnson, 11.9. Marion Hampton, 11.7. Trayvon Henderson, 10.2. Devin Neal, 10.8. RJ Harvey, 9.9. Looking at defense, go by total points. Mike Green is at the top. Abdul Carter second. Donovan Eziriaku. Boston College is up there. Cameron Simon Craig. Tyrion Perkins. JT Tolumalalu at Ohio State. Xavier Watts, Notre Dame. Justin Barron, Syracuse. Son Toia at San Jose State. Trey White, San Jose State. Antoine Powell, Ryland. Virginia Tech. Caleb Weaver. Sam Houston. Andrew Mukuba out of Texas. I'm just going to sort by edges. Put a high emphasis on stops and turnovers. Which you see total pressures. Mikhail Kamara out of Indiana has the most pressures. And Abdul Carter, Brian Ugu, Jack Sawyer, Donovan, Elijah Roberts, Mike Green, James Pierce, Princely. They're all up there. If you want to look at tackles for loss. Dale Carter, Nick Scorton, Oladejo, Donovan, Mike Green, James Pierce. I'll look at stops. Let's go by defensive interior. On a per game basis, Sione Toia, San Jose State, has the most points per game. Cam Horsley, Boston College, Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, Darius Alexander, Ty Robinson, Landon Robinson, Derek Harmon, Yaya Black, Kenneth Grant, TJ Sanders, Aeneas Peoples, JJ Puegs, Jay West, sorted by sacks. Go by stops. Go for tackles for loss. Go by weight. Kenneth Grant, 340. Mason Graham, 320. Cam Horsley, Boston College, 306. Ty Robinson, 310. Junior Tafuna, 305. Those are the only ones I put the weights in for. All right, looking at linebackers. Sean Dolak is at the top. Chad Campbell, Chris Ball, Carson Schweschinger, Jay Higgins, sorted by weight and a point per game basis. Chris Paul Jr. is up there. I like doing it on a points per game basis because not all the teams play same amount, right? So teams that made it to the championship game, they might have more overall points because they play more games. But something has to be said to that because obviously better teams are probably going to have better players, and probably playing better players is probably going to make your points per game go down as well. So you have to keep that in mind. Also did a standard deviation per game, pretty much the same. Look at hurries, pass breakups. If you want to look at the best coverage linebackers, go by QB rating against. Jay Higgins is up there. Demetrius Knight. Look at sacks, look at stops, tackles for loss. Chris Paul, Jalen Walker, Jod Campbell up there. All right, look at safeties. Do cornerbacks at the same time. Sort by overall points. Xavier Watts, Justin Barron, Syracuse, Caleb Weaver, Andrew Makuba, Caleb Downs, Jalen Cantalone, Jonathan Baldwin, Jade Barron, Keonta Jenkins, Oladipo, Kendall Daniels, Kobe Bryant, Jerome Manning, Malachi Moore, RJ Mickens, DJ Harvey, Melo Dotson, Nick Emanowari, Noah Williams. Doing on a per game basis. Justin Barron at Syracuse, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Toledo, Cameron Simon Craig out of Colorado, Caleb Weaver, Sam Houston, Jerome Manning, Keonta Jenkins, Kendall Daniels, Kobe Bryant. The catch percentage, Darian Porter out of Iowa State, only allowed a 29% catch. Jontez Williams, 37% catch. Lucky Moore, Andrew Kumba, pass breakups. Trey Amos had the most. Noah Williams, Jade Barron, QB rating against. Darian Porter, 4.7. Andrew Makuba, Jakari Foster. Jontez Williams, Bray Hubbard, Jerome Manning, Xavier Watts, Jade Barron. Receptions, Jakari Foster only allowed 1 reception. Darian Porter allowed 5. Andrew Makuba, Bray Hubbard, Jerome Manning allowed 10. Caleb Weaver, 13. Malachi Moore, 13. Terry Jones, 13. Sean Jones, 15. Jontez Williams, 16. Will Johnson, 16. Look at yards. Jakari Foster, 3 yards. Bray Hubbard, 34. Jerome Manning, 59. Darian Porter, 70. Andrew Makuba, 74. Fender that has a lot of stops. Justin Barron, Kendall Daniels out of Oklahoma State. Keonta Jenkins, Virginia Tech. Caleb Weaver, Sam Houston. Jonathan Baldwin, UNLV. RJ Mickens, Clemson. If you want to look at rushing stats, total points obviously goes to Ashton Gianti. He has 11, almost 12,000, which is about 38,000 more than Cam Scattaboo. It's Amarian Hampton, Trey Stewart, Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, Taj Brooks. If you want to sort by pounds, Khalil Mullings, Jakinden Jackson, Damian Martinez, Taj Brooks are all 230 or more. Caleb Johnson, Bryson Daly is a quarterback, but he's 220. Amarian Hampton, Jason Patterson out of Bull Green, Montreal Johnson, all 220 or more. If you want to do a per game basis, Marion Hampton, Cam Scattaboo, Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, Trey Stewart. Also did added up point stats to see who are the better passing backs. Quint Allen, Haile Handrek, fullback in the Navy, Dean Connors, Rice, Desmond Reed, Pittsburgh, Shard Smith, Cam Scattaboo, Marion Hampton, Jaden Blue. Go by first downs. This is a pretty crazy. Sort by first downs. Bryson Daly has more first downs than Ashton Gianti rushing. Take out quarterbacks. Savion Williams at TCU has 20 first downs. JJ Puegs has 18 first downs on 21 touches. Pretty insane. Tyler Warren has 13 first downs. Jimmy Holiday has 13 rushing first downs. Luther Burden is up there. Luke Grimm, explosive plays. Yards after contact per attempt. So all these guys are pretty good. Ashton Gianti almost has 7. No, Ashton Gianti almost has a 5.25 yards after contact per attempt. Almost a yard more than Amarian Hampton. Amarian Hampton has 4.35. Cam Scattaboo has a 4.09. Everybody else is kind of in the 3s. Caleb Johnson has a 4.42. It's more than Amarian Hampton. He's 225 out of Iowa. Anthony Hankerson, Oregon State, has, BJ Giddens has 4.16. Jonah Coleman at Washington, 4.3. Tootin has a 4.4. Damon Martinez, 4.4. Trayvon Henderson, 4.4. Just because they have a lot of yards after contact doesn't mean they have good vision. Let's sort by elusive yards contact. Elusive, rush, missed tackles, force. Cam Scadaboo has 102. Omarion Hampton has 72. For receiving, Omarion Hampton has 21. Cam Scadaboo has 13. Caleb Johnson has 66. Looking at the best O-lineman, I subtracted the bad stats I did run block divided by 2 plus pass block. So I took the average of those two. I subtracted the bad stats. And at the top is Jacob Gardner, center, Wyatt Milliam, Josh Simmons, who only played 9 games, Quint Allen, Drew Kindle. Let's do points per game. Jacob Gardner squats 350. I just got to squat more than that. Josh Simmons, deadlifts 525. Bryce Foster, Luke Kandra, Cincinnati, guard. He has 1 negative per game. Wyatt Milliam, -2 per game. Willie Lampkin, -2 per game. Armand Membu, -2 per game. Sia Fotanu, I wonder if that's Fotanu's brother. Tyler Booker, -2 per game. Jake Majors, -2 per game. Miles Frazier, -2 per game. Just sorted by run block grade. Wyatt Milliam, best run block game grade. Jacob Gardner, best run block. Ron Membu, Willie Lampkin, Clay Webb. He had a -8 per game, points per game. Kevin Banks Jr., -8 per game. Jake Slaughter, Marcus Imbow, -30 per game. 21 hurries allowed, 25 pressures, 30 sacks. Drew Kindle, -9 per game. There you go.